It started when I noticed something strange in my mailbox one morning. Letters had been rifled through, bills misplaced, and a few personal checks missing. At first, I assumed it was a simple mistake, perhaps a mix-up with the mail carrier. But it quickly became clear that this was no accident. Karen had decided to steal my mail. I was already familiar with her audacious attempts to meddle in every aspect of my life, but mail theft was a new low, even for her. She must have assumed that by removing documents, she could find a way to exert control over my property, my finances, or perhaps even my personal affairs. I immediately contacted the postal inspector, explaining the situation and providing evidence of the missing mail. Within hours, a federal investigation was underway. The inspector took my side seriously, noting that tampering with mail is a federal offense with severe consequences. Karen had just crossed a line far beyond HOA disputes. That afternoon, I watched as Karen drove up, looking confident as usual, probably believing she was about to win again. I didn't confront her directly. There was no need. Instead, I allowed the postal inspector's team to set up a discreet surveillance operation. Cameras were installed, and officers positioned themselves near key areas where Karen might attempt interference. A few hours later, Karen approached my mailbox with her usual clipboard and a smug grin. She reached out to tamper with the lock, completely unaware that the postal inspectors were watching her every move. Within seconds, federal officers stepped in, surrounding her vehicle and guiding her away from the property. Karen froze, eyes wide in disbelief. What is happening?" she stammered, struggling against the calm authority of the inspectors. I approached casually, sipping a cup of coffee. "Karen, it seems you've finally overstepped. Mail tampering is a federal offense. I suggest you cooperate and avoid making this any worse for yourself." Her face turned red as the reality sank in. For once, she couldn't bully, intimidate, or threaten her way out of a situation. The officers carefully guided her to a federal vehicle, informing her of the charges and her rights. Karen's threats and complaints about the HOA, property rights, or fines were irrelevant now. She had crossed a serious legal boundary. Neighbors, watching from a distance, were stunned. Karen had attempted yet another act of intimidation, but this time it backfired spectacularly. Her credibility and influence evaporated instantly, replaced by federal scrutiny and the very real consequences of her actions. The incident became a neighborhood legend almost immediately. People recounted the story with awe and laughter. Karen, who had tried to interfere with property, trespass, and even imaginary pets, had now been arrested for stealing mail, a federal crime. I spent the rest of the day securing the mailbox, confirming that all personal correspondence was accounted for, and reviewing additional security measures to prevent any future incidents. While Karen's audacity was staggering, the situation reinforced a simple truth. Property rights, combined with legal authority, always prevail over harassment and ignorance. By evening, the mail was safe, the neighborhood relaxed, and Karen's latest attempt at interference had ended in embarrassment and legal trouble. The story circulated quickly, cementing her reputation as the HOA president who couldn't understand boundaries, jurisdiction, or consequences. I reflected on the situation calmly. Each confrontation with Karen taught a lesson. Patience, legal preparation, and allowing the proper authorities to handle overreach were far more effective than confrontation alone. Karen had learned, again painfully, that her tactics could never succeed against knowledge, law, and ownership. The mailbox incident became one of the most talked about events in the community. People laughed at Karen's audacity, shared stories of her failed attempts, and marveled at how someone could consistently misjudge authority so spectacularly. And as always, I remained calm, my property secure, and my reputation untarnished.